Connacht fans watch as their team's playoff chances blow further away in the Galway wind. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Connacht with some possession early doors in this one, but decent defence from the Stormers, limiting their gains. And, the Stormers, I felt tonight, they marshalled that Connacht attack pretty well with their defence. Stormers then win a penalty at the first scrum, duly hinging, and there was a bit of a theme for the evening as well. Stormers on top in the scrum. Stormers then, they go up the line, look to attack with Roos carrying, but Carty puts in a great hit. It gets turned into a maul, and Connacht strip the ball out of that, and they look to attack. We forward our spin on a little bit after that. Then Connacht looking to attack off a line out. Janssen bursts through and he makes meters, but fails to use the support that was there on either side of him, and the move eventually peters out. Then Stormers come back. Hartzenberg puts a clever kick out on the wing close to the line, but Hawkshaw does well to snuff out the danger there. It was really smart play from Hartzenberg, but Hawkshaw was wide to it, and very lucky for Connacht as well there. Both teams showing good attacking intent, but it feels like Stormers have that little bit more of an edge when they do get to, into a little bit of space. Have another scrum penalty then for Stormers. Bealham has a knee on the ground, and it's end-to-end stuff, but there's handling errors costing both teams. Connacht, though, are the main culprits. Duplessis then with a nice step. Stormers looking to attack off the scrum on the edge of the 22. Yanchis, though, can't hold his pass, and probably would have been in, I think, if he had been able to gather that. John Porch then drops an up and under. I think he kind of knocked it backwards. He then gathers it, though, but he gets swallowed up, and it's a penalty for holding on in front of the post. And that was the third error from Porch. Normally very dependable, and I'm pretty sure he dropped another one later on in the game as well. Like, the guy has been out for a long time, and I've seen him have great games for Connacht there at the back and on the wing as well under those high balls, but today it just wasn't going for him at all. Stormers then off for a scrum. They win another one just after that as well. They decide to go wide, but they get forced into touch. They then come back for a penalty for Dooley hinging again at the scrum, and Lebach finally opens the score from the tee. It's 3 points to 0. Connacht then put pressure on after the restart into 22. They win a penalty. O'Halloran, though, taps and goes quickly. He gets isolated and turned over. Stormers able to clear. Probably should have been a little bit more patient there, because he pretty much no support around him. There were questions about whether the Stormers, though, were back 10, but the referee said so you can't complain too much about that. Stormers then get over for a score, or we think to do. Hallant with a great take from an up and under, gives it to Willemse. He breaks and then puts Davids away to go over the line. Referee awards a try, but then the TMO spots the pass to Willemse was clearly forward, and it's no try. Connacht then have some joy in the scrum. I think maybe their only scrum penalty of the night. Brock Harris hinging under pressure from Bealham. Stormers then jump across into the resulting line out after Connacht went up the wing. Connacht then kicked to the corner, and they're pressuring the line after that. One out runners. Bealham goes over, but he's held up. But then we come back for a penalty for a high tackle. There were a few high tackles from the Stormers. I think, at one stage the referee told them, that was enough. I think sometime in the second half. They weren't kind of, that dangerous. They were more kind of seatbelt tackles, but still, we want to reduce that tackle height. Connacht decide to tap. Aki comes on a hard line, but he's stopped just short. Caelan Blade then sells a dummy and dives over to score. Carty converts for 7-3. Connacht hit the front. Stormers then looking dangerous just before the break, propelled forward by a great break by Willemse. He just puts on a nice step and then glides through a gap in midfield. Connacht off feet, and Stormers decide to kick the corner with the clock in the red. Connacht compete at the line out. Stormers do secure it, but then Connacht sack them all, and that's half time, 7 points to 3. Stormers with the wind and the momentum at the second half, and it's Galway, so there's always a wind, right? But I felt Stormers actually played the wind better than Connacht did. Connacht, though, they do have a period of possession where they're playing flat and they almost get intercepted a few times. I counted maybe 3 or 4 times, I think, where they were like so close to getting intercepted. And it's that rush defense from the Stormers just putting lots of pressure on them. Stormers then get the first real chance of the second half. Roos with a great carry, then some nice hands, put Lebock through a hole. He draws the cover and he puts Davids over, and this time the try is good. Lebock converts and it is 10 points to 7. So Stormers now hit the front again. Connacht with a chance to hit back almost right away, pretty much from the restart, to have a 5-minute line out, but it's an absolute mess, and Stormers get a free kick and they can clear. Roos then not rolling away. Penalty to Connacht on the edge of the 22. Stormers getting warning that the next one is going to go to the bin. Connacht now with a 5-meter line out on the left. The line out is secured. Stormers then look to drive the maul into touch, but Connacht split off and they're camped on the line. Aki goes close, it's recycled, and then Ainger goes over to score in the corner. Carty not even close with the conversion attempt. The wind played havoc with his kick, and it was a tough angle anyway. It's 12 points to 10. Tiernan O'Halloran then gets a standing ovation, and as he comes off the field for the last time at the sports ground. Santiago Cordero comes on for him after 9 months out. We have another Stormers penalty in the scrum. They decide to kick to the corner. Connacht's defence hold them out as they go, with the big carriers. Dowling then wins a penalty for holding on after big hits from Prendergast and Ainger. Blade, though, and this is the point I think really where the game turned against Connacht. Blade with a really poor kick that basically gets held up in the wind, and it's one of these that almost goes up and down without moving forward all that much. It means the entire Connacht team are offside. Nobody is retreating, and Stormers get a penalty, decide to go for the post. Lebock nails the kick, and it was a tough kick with the wind and on the angle as well. Then a couple of Connacht, so at this point it's 13-12 and Stormers are in the lead. A couple of Connacht mistakes then give Stormers good position. First, Riley kicks out on the full. He's on for Blade at 9. And then Porch drops another high ball. Stormers win a penalty at the scrum from that. Lebock slocks the kick 16 points to 12. And Connacht's mistakes just ruthlessly punished there. Then we have a Ruse knock on. That allows Connacht to attack from the edge of 22. They go through some phases, but then Stormers are pressuring them and pushing them back, and Ruse snaffles the ball after Connacht knock on. Connacht then, they try to attack from the edge of their own 22, but eventually gets isolated. Hallant gets over the ball. Stormers, they have a penalty. They decide they're going to go up the line. For me, I thought maybe, with like 90 seconds, just over 90 seconds of the clock, they might have just kicked for the post, because that would, have run the clock down sufficiently. But to go up the line, then all they have to do really is secure that line out and, run the clock down. But they give away a free. I think it was maybe a dummy in the line out, but whatever it was a mess. It's similar to Connacht's one in the first half. Connacht again tried to go to the length of the field, but Stormers containing them, and they force a knock on. Full time is 16-12. Well deserved win for the Stormers. And John Mannion, in my comments, he called it. He said that Connacht couldn't win an argument right now, and you can't argue with that, right? Connacht, they're finishing the season poorly, and they've been inconsistent all through the season as well. I think as a first season for Wilkins, it's certainly not a disaster. And like I saw some stats where he's got a decent win rate in that, but it's delivering in these tight games as well. That's something that they've got to develop for next season. We're going to have a quick look at the stats. As always, with these stats, you have to kind of take some of them as they come, as it were, because they're not always up to date and accurate. So first of all, tries scored at 2-1 to Connacht, so that is correct. Possession 64% to 36 for Connacht, so they had so much ball, but again, the Stormers for the most part in defence looked comfortable against that Connacht attack. Clean breaks, just 3 for Connacht from all that possession, but 7 from the Stormers. And again, the Stormers had that edge, and they always looked dangerous in possession, whereas Connacht, there were a number of times where they were going through phases, and then they got to the point where they just said, right, let's just kick it, we're going nowhere. And again, that's credit to the Stormers for that. Defenders beaten then 14-18, so Stormers on the top of that one. And offloads 7-9. So again, both teams looking to keep that ball alive and looking to attack, but the Stormers just having that little bit more, in terms of their durability on the ball, as and Connacht's errors really didn't help them. Territory then 56-44. So again, Connacht in the right areas of the field, but not being able to actually turn that, for the most part at least, into points. Number of tackles then 93 for Connacht, 174 for Stormers. So Stormers having to make a lot of those tackles, but they certainly did well in doing so. Missed tackles 18-14. Tackle percentage 84% for Connacht, which is below par, just a little bit below par, but still below par for a URC game. Stormers 93% is absolutely excellent, and again just shows they gave very little change to Connacht in defence. Turnovers 1, then 4 for Connacht, 5 for the Stormers, and then kicks retained, none for Connacht, 2 for the Stormers. And the Stormers, even with that, you just think, well, they did well on 2 kicks, but no, they caused a lot of trouble for Connacht. They forced a lot of knock-ons from Connacht, and some of them were unforced errors from Connacht as well, which really didn't help their cause. Penalties then, just 5 conceded from Connacht, so a decent, and a lot of those actually were in the scrum as well. So in general play, really good from Connacht. Overall decent in terms of keeping on the right side of the referee. Stormers were at 11, and again, I think that's kind of on that cusp of maybe getting a yellow card at some point during the game. But you've got to play the referee that's there, and the referee kind of erred more on the side of giving a warning and then giving a final warning, etc. So if you're a smart team or smart player, you're going to push that, and I think the Stormers did really well doing that. And they played the referee probably better than Connacht did tonight, and that's all part of the game too. I think that's it's not a criticism, it's a compliment to them in that. We're going to look at then some of the players. So in terms of successful carries, Sean Jansen for Connacht was a bright light, I felt, for them. Some really good carries from him, making lots of ground, but maybe we could see a little bit more of him looking for his support, and instead of just creating the next ruck further up the field, maybe he could offload to someone who could then exploit the space that his carry has created. Evan Roos for the Stormers, he played right on the edge tonight, and he was excellent as well. All around the field too. I felt he was one of the Stormers' best players. Clean breaks then, 2 for Tiernan O'Halloran and 2 for Hartzenberg as well. Hartzenberg is a player that I really, really admire. He's one of those guys where he's maybe not in the top tier of like when you think of Springboks wingers, etc., but the guy is still a class act, and it doesn't take that much for a player like him. It doesn't take that much more for him to offer for him to then potentially be in the Springbok side as well. defenders beaten then. Janssen then with 3, Roos with 5 for the Stormers. As I said, the guy was everywhere tonight. Meters made 71 for O'Halloran, so a really good shift from him in what is his last game for Connacht in Galway. And Daniel Willemse, playing in the centres again, looked like a class act in there. He looked like he had more time than anyone else on the field. So he like 63 meters for him. Then offloads, Keane Prendergast with 2 and Willemse with 2 as well. On defence then, number of tackles, Hurley Langton with 9 for Connacht. Ben Jason Dixon, 22 for the Stormers. Again, a massive shift for that guy. He doesn't always get headlines, but he's one of those guys that, he puts the nose to the grindstone and he works for you all through the match. So, you can see from the stats there, the Stormers, they may have had less ball and less territory, but on, the impact that they had overall with that ball that they had was better than what Connacht delivered. Okay, so let's have just a quick chat about both teams. So Connacht, as I said, too many errors in attack. Scrum was definitely a liability. Line out, while overall I thought it was pretty good, misfired at crucial points for them, and that speaks to kind of in terms of the mentality of the players not being able to deliver when it really matters as well. Mathematically, they still have a chance to make the top 8, but they really do feel like they're an outside bet now. They've got to produce a result next week and then hope that other results go their way as well. And it's always tough when your fate isn't in your own hands in these situations. And as well, you worry whether even Connacht can hold up their end of the bargain next week. So as I say, definitely an outsiders now for a top 8 finish. Stormers, they weren't perfect by any means, but they made plenty of errors. But on another night as well, Roos might have gotten 10 minutes in the bin. And I'm going to finish my point now because I've said it a million times. They did what was needed to win. And, that's the difference, I think, between teams like the Stormers. We've seen it now with Munster as well. We see it with Leinster, too, that, when it's a tight game, for the most part, teams like that can deliver. And that's not kind of luck or, some people blame referees or whatever. It's nothing like that. It's, it's winning tight games like this becomes a habit, and teams are able to, they have that mentality, they have the composure to deliver when it really counts. And once you've done that a few times, then, as I said, it becomes a habit, and the Stormers have that habit. And, they were, I felt once they got ahead in those final 10 minutes, I absolutely could not see Connacht finding a way back at them at all. It felt like, Stormers were just looked comfortable in containing Connacht there at the end. This win now should be their playoff place wrapped up. Again, maybe mathematically not so, but I think they do. And also Champions Cup qualification. And, this is a team, they've made the final for the last 2 years, and they're definitely going to be a tough draw in the playoffs.